Okay, so today we're going to continue introducing the FineReport, and then we're going to introduce about the exam, so you can know what questions will be there in the exam and how you can take the exam. Okay, so now firstly, we're going to introduce the FineReport, continue to introduce it. So yesterday we introduced the general report. It's like the sales. It consists of two areas, the sales part and the parameter pane. So yesterday we introduced the tables, the charts, the parameters with filter, the parameters with hyperlink, and other special effects. And today we're going to introduce this kind of reports. It's called, in short, it can be called FVS dashboard. So I'm going to create a new dashboard now. A new dashboard. Create and create. So by default, its name is template 1. And initially, I choose the size of this template, which is this size. This is the size that I just chose. But also, if you want to change, you can change it here. For example, sometimes you want a very big screen like this one. It's a very wide screen, right? You can change it like this. So you can change the size as you want. And you can see here, this is the editing page of this dashboard. It's unlike the general report. It's a blank canvas now. You can see it's a blank canvas, but only the background color is the dark color, right? So you can also change its color if you want. By default, it's this dark color because it might be because the initial style you choose is the dark style. You can also change the color of this page. Where can I change it? So here, I'm clicking this page, right? This is the page 1, you can see here. Currently, we're at the page 1. So on the right, you can see there is the transition and page. This is the attribute of this page. You can set under this page, the background. Now, I set a color for the background. You can also change it, for example, a white color, etc. You can change that. Okay, so now I'm moving back to a dark color. And this is the dashboard. It's like a canvas. And like the FineBI, you can also just drag the components into this canvas to fill into this dashboard. So where are all the components? So on the upper side, you can see chart, widget, other 3D resource. So these are all the components that you can add to this canvas. For example, chart, column, bar, pie, line, etc. For example, column, just drag it to this dashboard. And also you can change its size, its location freely to put it somewhere inside this dashboard. And for example, I want another chart, a line chart. And then maybe I want to add a filter. Like yesterday in the general report, we add a drop-down box, right? Here, I also want to add a drop-down box. So I'm going to another component type, which is called widget. So on the widget, you can see there are the filters that you can use. For example, drop-down box. So here, this part is a little bit different from the general report. For this drop-down box, you can change its attribute to make it single select or multi-select. So by default, this is single select. If you want to change this to multi-select, you don't have to delete this widget and drag another widget. You can go to the right. The right is the attribute of this selected component. So I select this widget, and on the right, I have an option to make it multi-select. So if it's multi-select, you can just multi-select. So this is this widget. It has two functions, single select or multi-select. Okay, so this is the filter, the widget we can use. Sometimes you need to use the dates, a button, group, or query button, etc. You can all choose here. And what about I want to add some title? So you can choose under other component. There's the title. For example, now I'm in the page 1, right? So I'm going to change its title to page 1. So how to change it? You can see we just drag the component. We just drag the component into this dashboard, into this canvas. But if you want to edit its attributes, for all the components, you need to find it on the right. Just click the selected component and look for it on the right. There will be content, interaction, animation, component, 4 options. You can see for this heading, this is the title. We have these 4 settings. This is a chart. Also, we have these 4 settings. This is the filter. Also, we have the same, right? The 4 options. So these 4 options, you will all see these 4 options, no matter what kind of component type you are choosing. So for this heading, I'm going to change its name. So I'm going to find it in the content. And here, title content, I'm going to name it as page 1. Okay. So page 1, and perhaps some very big here. I want to change it maybe the size. Okay. So this is the title. And under other components, there are some other text like the rich text. Rich text is that you can have multiple line text. That's the difference between title and the rich text. And also we have table. So what is table? You can see in the chart, you can only create chart, right? But what if in the dashboard, I want to create some tables? So you can use other table. Let me drag one to see the effect. Table. Okay, let me adjust the size. Okay, so this is table. So how can I edit this table? You can see for the table also we have content, interaction, animation, and component. And for the table, usually if we want to edit it, we need to click it again. Click the selected component and then here, edit component, or here, edit component. Both is okay, just 2 entrances. For example, here, I click this edit component, so I enter into this table inside. So you can see inside this table, this is very similar to the general report. It is consisting of the cells, right? But different from the general report, just no parental pane area here, just the cell part. So this is the table. And in the cell, you can also find on the right, there are some attributes. Cell elements, cell attributes, condition attribute, and hyperlink. So these 4, we have introduced these 4 attributes yesterday, right? The usage method is exactly the same as what you use in the general report. So in the table, you can imagine it is like the general report, but without the parameter pane. But we can also set these 4 attributes. In the cell attribute, you can set parent cell, expansion direction. In the cell element, you can insert these kind of elements. In the condition attribute, you can add 1 to make the attribute change based on conditions. And in the hyperlink, you can add 1 to jump, to pass your parameter, to jump to another chart, etc. So this is the table. For example, I just want to type some text to indicate this is a table. Okay, so I type table, and then I go back to my dashboard. How can I go back? You can return to, click this one, return to, or this form, both is okay. So I click this return to FVS dashboard. And you can see once I type table, there will be the table, right? Okay, so that is the chart widget other. And these 3 component types are the 2D types, right? This is 2D. And one feature of our FVS dashboard is that it supports the 3D feature. That is the 3D component. You can see here. You can insert 3D component here, like the 3D city scene, custom 3D scene. So what effect will this 3D effect bring us? So here I'm going to show you first what effect will that 3D scene going bring us. So this is our demo set of FineReport. You can also open it to view some effects of some FineReport demos. So this website, we deploy the FineReport, and you can log in with this username and password. It will automatically fill itself. So after you log in, after you input this URL, just click this login to log in. And on the left, it will be the directory. So it's the same structure like what you will see when you open your local platform. You can imagine this is just the platform of the server so that everyone can access to this URL. So you can see in the directory, there is an FVS folder. So under this folder, there are dashboards that is developed by this type, by the FVS dashboard. And usually, sometimes it will have some 3D feature. For example, this one, business district visualization. Okay, let's give it some time because for the 3D, it's unlike the 2D, right? It's too big, it's too much resource. So also, if you want to use the 3D feature, it has a requirement to your server or to your computer. So exactly what requirements we need? Here, you can check here. This is the hardware requirement. And this is for when you only need the 2D scene. But if you need to achieve some complex 3D scene, these are the requirements that you need to have. If you don't have this requirement, you might experience a very low speed when you preview the dashboard or edit your dashboard. So this is our recommendations. Okay, you have a problem?
Just one question. These requirements are for the final user also, or just for the developer?
Actually, it's for the terminal who are going to preview your dashboard. But for the editing dashboard, for the development side, we also recommend you to have this requirement. The requirement can be lower than this one, but also we need to improve the requirement. So here, actually, this refers to the end. You can see the end that accesses the server and browse it. So the end for preview. For the development side, we don't we cannot use this high requirements, but for the development side, it always is gonna be better if we have this requirement. It can be a little bit lower than this requirement, but it's better to have this also. Yeah, but for the client side, for the access side, you must have this requirement because or else you can see that back earlier I am loading this FVS dashboard very slowly, right? Because my requirement is not that high and I am the preview side. So you can see this is a demo of this 3D components. And you can see there are like 4 areas. And also there are some other features, maybe the grassland, the rivers, the streets, and some buildings, right? So these are all the features that is brought by this 3D component. Okay, so here I'm gonna just let you have a concept to see what is the effect that we will have if we use this 3D component. But for this part, for the 3D component part, because if we're going to tell more details about it, it will take like 1 hour to 2 hours. So in this training, in this session, we're not going to tell you more details about the 3D component. Later, if you have some needs to use it, we can have another session to have a specific session about this 3D, okay? Okay, so these are all the components in the dashboard. And 3D is just the one feature, one most important feature of this dashboard, of this FVS dashboard. And another feature of the FVS dashboard is that it can have multiple pages. Like you see currently, we are in the page 1. You can also add new pages here, add new pages, page 2, page 3, page 4, like that. And maybe I can add a title here to indicate this is page 2. And this is page 3, page 4, page 5, right? If you want to change its name, also you can change its name here. So this is a page. I just select this page, and on the right, there are settings for this page. So this is the name. You can also change it. For example, I change it with a space, page 2. So here, page 2, right? So that is also another feature, to have multiple pages. So let's preview the dashboard effect, because there are multiple pages, right? So let's preview the effect with these multiple pages. So I'm gonna save first. Also, I'm going to save it in yesterday's folder. So you can see, since we are creating this FVS dashboard, the report is the FVS type, and you can give it a name. Now it's template 1. Okay, template 1, and save, and then preview. How can I preview? Preview here. Preview. So here you can see currently by default we are in the page 1. This is the preview URL. How you can change to page 2? So on the left bottom corner, there will be a built-in button for you to change your pages, to switch your pages, going to the next page, and next page, next page, next page. Or here, just jump, page 3, page 4, etc. So this is the built-in button that you can use to jump. But sometimes you don't want to see these buttons. So that's the time you can hide it by default. How you can hide it? Go to check this preview playback setting. And here I uncheck this show switch button and then save my dashboard, preview it again. So you can see on default, there will be no built-in button, right? But when your mouse move over here, it will show itself again. So that is to hide this button by default. But always you can use this button to switch your pages. So this is just use the built-in button, this switch button to switch pages. But sometimes, because we want to achieve more effect, like here, for example, in this demo, it actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages. So currently I'm in the overview page. If I click the district A, it will go to another page, district A. So how it can achieve that? That is, I click this one, I click this title, and then I jump to another page, right? So that is the effect that we commonly use when we want to switch pages instead of using the built-in button here. So how do we achieve that? So you can see that is the effect that I click, and then the execution is to go to another page, right? So also this is the effect when you click. So now also I want to achieve the similar effect. I want to click the page 1, and then I go to page 2. I click this title, and then I go to page 2. So I select this title, and then on the right. This is the content. Here it comes to the interaction. So we can add some interaction events. I want to add an event. I add a click event. Why it is click event? Because I'm going to jump when I click, right? So click event. So click event, there are many types of click events you can choose. What kind of executions you want to do when you click? I want to jump to another page. So I select the page jump and select my page. These are the names of your pages. Page 2. Click OK. Save and preview. Okay, so here curly, okay, I'm in page 1, and now I click this page, you can see there will be a hand, right? A hand. And so I go to page 2. So that is, I use this click event. You can add it again here. I have just added here in the page. The name is page jump 1. You can add it again. And while we are jumping through pages, we can also transfer our parameters. So how to define our parameters? That's the same as we introduced yesterday in the general report, remember? We can define it in 3 places. One is in the database query, where we write SQL sentence. One is here, template parameter, and another one is the global parameter. There are 3 places where we can define them. And after we define the parameters, how can I use it? One is, of course, to combine it with the filtering. So if you want to achieve the filter in this dashboard, the workflow also is very similar to what you do in the general report. Make sure that your widget has the same name with your parameter. Because here in the content, you can see you can bound parameter, right? So bound your parameter to this widget so that when the drop-down box changes value, the value will be transferred to your parameter, and then your chart or your tables will be changed. So that's how we combine it with this widget to achieve the filtering. And what are other usages of parameters? That is when we execute some executions, like the jump, later like the other operations, many operations. While we do that, in the meantime, we can pass our parameter. So here, similarly, when we are jumping to the page 2, we can also set our parameters, parameter setting. Okay, so for example, I'm going to give you an example now. For example, now I'm going to achieve this effect. Let me find you the final effect that I want to achieve is that I have 2 pages here. I have 2 pages, and in the first page is a map. It's a map. This is the first page. In the second page, is 3 components: a title, a table, and a column chart. By default, I just jump to the second page by the built-in button, so that I just jump without any parameter passing. But next, I'm going to click to jump. I click one area to jump, and then in the meantime, transfer to pass the parameter value so that you can see in the second page, it will display the corresponding area information. So that's the effect while you jump and pass the parameter. Since this example is kind of complicated because we're also going to make the map. So now maybe I can make it simpler and we can both do it together. So perhaps now I'm going to create a, for example, here, this one. This area, for this column chart, I want to display the total sales of every region. Also, I'm going to use the same table yesterday, sales volume table, right? Sales volume. So these are all the values, and delete this one. I don't want this filter, just this chart, and configure it. Configure the chart. How to configure this chart? The data, the style, the special effect also is the same as the general report. Just find it under this content. There will also be the data, the style. You can see axis series, the special effect. You can see here condition display. So that's the same. Okay, so I'm going to configure data for this chart. The sales volume of the every region, right? DS1, every region sales volume. So now you can see, I can directly see the effect here with my editing. You can see New York, California. So here I'm displaying the total sales of every region. And now in the second page, I want to display more detailed information, maybe also with a column chart. But here, I'm going to display the sales, the product sales under each sales person. Okay, so here I'm going to create another database query because here I don't want this chart to be static. I want it to dynamic based on what condition, based on which region I choose, whether I choose the New York or California, and the condition will be different. Whether it will display the product sales information under New York or California. So also sales volume where the region equals to, so that's the same, right? And define your parameter here. Here, give it a region. I just give it a name, give it a parameter. I just give it a name, R. So you can see I have an R parameter here. And now I want to configure my data. My data is DS2 to display, let's suppose now we are going to display the product sales volume. Okay, product sales volume. So product sales volume. So you can see by default, we have no data. Why? Because now our region has no value, right? Why we don't, we can give it a default value here, perhaps California. Okay. And let me configure it again. Okay. So here, you can see here, this effect is actually the product sales volume of California. So now I know that my chart content is determined by my parameter. And once my parameter value has changed, this chart, the meaning of this chart will also be changed. So here, I want to change the parameter value by click on the chart in the page 1 because there is New York, California. When I click New York, when I click California, I will also jump to page 2. But the difference is that it just said, when I click New York, I will pass the value of New York. When I click California, I will pass the value of California to the parameter. So I'm going to add this click event. You can check under, also find it under interaction and add click event. What kind of event? Because I want to jump to another page. Page jump to which page? Page 2. And while jumping, I'm going to set my parameter. What is my parameter? My parameter is the parameter that is in my target page. My target page is page 2. And my parameter name, I just defined it in the DS2, right? Is the R. So R, what's value? I want to pass New York and California. New York and California actually now is the category value, right? So here, I choose the category name. Click OK. OK. And then save. And I want to preview it again. I'm going to page 1. Preview it again. So by default, okay, so by default, let me change to page 2 to see the default value. So by default, should be the product sales of California. Apple juice milk, right? Here, this value. And now if I switch pages by click New York, so you can see the value, the sales volume of the product sales actually changed because now the parameter value has been passed here is New York. Okay, so that's the effect of this page jump with parameter. So you can see that how can I add click event for this chart? I just added under this interaction. So if you remember yesterday in the general report, I said that in the general report, when we want to add some hyperlinks, hyperlink is also the effect that it will execute when you click. It's similar like here, the click event, right? So for the dashboard, if you go to find the content special effect interaction here, you cannot find the hyperlink, right? Remember yesterday in the general report for the chart, you can find the hyperlink under special effect interaction. But since here we're in the dashboard, a little bit difference here. The hyperlink under this interaction, you cannot find it. But instead, by substitute, you can use this interaction and click event to achieve the same effect as in general report hyperlink. So that is for the chart, Okay. Okay. So now also I will give you 5 minutes. You can experience this page jump by yourself. You can design the page like I designed here, or you can also explore a little bit by yourself, okay, for like 5 minutes. And in the meanwhile, if you think you have some problems, you can ask me. Yeah. Yes, this is the parameter. Parameter, how to define it is the same as the general report. Now I define it in the dataset. And the parameter, when we define in the dataset, we start with this dollar sign. And inside this curly bracket, we define its name. So this is the parameter name, R. Okay. Okay, so now let's continue. So this is just the first type of interaction you can see. When I add click event, there will be so many types, right? I'm using the page jump because I want to jump between pages. And also you can see other effects like the pop-up box, a URL. The pop-up box is like the hyperlink web report. Hyperlink web report is to jump to another report, maybe a sub-report, right? So if you want to achieve the similar effect, here you use this click event pop-up box. For example, I'm going to, for example, for the page one, okay, for the page one, I'm not going to jump page, disable it, disable the page jump. And I add another one, which is the pop-up box. Where do you want to jump to? It can be a URL. The URL you can insert a URL, a website URL like that, or you can also choose to template link, and you can select your template where you want to jump to. And here you can select all the types, CPT, general report, or FVS, both is okay. So for example, now I'm going to choose the this one, sales.cpt, click OK. Click OK and save and refresh. Okay, I'm in page 2. I'm going back to page 1. And when I click, here, I'm going to enable this event. Here, when I click, I will execute this execution because page jump, I just disable it. So I will only do this one pop-up box. So click, and then it will have this pop-up box to give me the sales.cpt file, right? So you can see the style. The style of this pop-up box, you might think kind of ugly, right? Because we don't set the style now. This is the default style of this pop-up box. If you want to set it, you can set it here. When you are setting the pop-up box, add it again. Here is the style of the pop-up box, and this is the preview effect you can refer to. So this is the border background color. That's why we are having this color, and you can change the style here to beautify your pop-up box. And while we are getting this pop-up box, we can also pass our parameters. You can pass parameters here to add your parameters here. So, here I'm going to jump to the sales.cpt file, right? So, for example, now let me check the sales.cpt. What is this? This is to multi-select, as I remember, right? This is to multi-select. We do it yesterday, multi-select. And where is the parameter? I define it also here, and its parameter name is test, right? For example, now, also I'm going to jump to this report as a pop-up box, and then in the meanwhile, pass the parameter value. The parameter is test, right? So I'm going to pass the value test. Okay, I'm going to going back to my dashboard. How can you go back? Because CPT and FVS are two different report type, template type. So you can see while you are opening this CPT, there will only be the CPT, right? How can I go back to my dashboard, to my FVS dashboard? Because I just opened it, I don't close it. How can I return to it that? So here is a small tip here, is that you can switch it here. Use this button here. You can see here is like an error. And you can find it here. This is a template of other category. Our current category is this CPT, right? So other category, FVS. You can change it back. Clever, absolute paths. Oh, you mean select? Not necessarily. Actually, when you are working together, right? You mean you are working together on one report, right? At that time, you are going to deploy the file report on the server, right? Because you are all using the same server to design, and when you are working together, you can just select the template from your server because at that time you are all using the server environment to develop your dashboard. You are not using your local. That means what that means, you can see here. Now I'm using this designer. You must have a designer on your local computer. But now, what is my development? What is my development environment? You can see here. I'm using the local directory. If you check on your file report, you can also find now it's a local directory. Local directory means that now I'm using my local designer to develop in my local directory. That means all these templates, whether no matter it's editing, deleting, all these operations will be effective on my local. For example, where is my local? For example, this chart. This chart is a file. There should be a location that I store this file, right? So where is the location? You can find it here. Open its folder. Just click a file, open its folder. So you can see this path. This path is actually the default project path that the file report will save all your reports under the web apps, web root, web inf, and report list. This is the path. And this is the folder name, right? I can go back and you can see here, under the report list, that is the same. These all are the same as is shown here in the file area management area, right? So this is just the real position, real location where the files are stored. So while you are developing using this local directory, designing on your local directory, all your work will be saved here on your local disk. But when we are working with other colleagues, of course, we're not going to develop separately, right? Because if we develop separately, I'm designing on my local environment, and you are designing on your local environment. At that time, our work cannot be done together, right? So normally, if you work together, you're going to use maybe use a server as the server of the file report, and you deploy the file report on that server. So at that time, you are all going to use your designer to connect to your server environment that is not your local directory. Connect to your server environment. So everyone use the own designer, local designer to connect to the remote server environment, and then all your work should be there in the server environment. So how to connect to that? How to change? For example, this is a local directory, right? How you can change to that under file options here, options, and sorry, not here. On the files here, switch working directory. You can choose other. This is the default. The default will be, you can see, this is the location. Actually, this is the location of my installation package and web apps, web root, web inf. So this is my local. If you want to connect to your server environment, for example, like our EN demo website, English demo website, this is the server, right? And here, we already have a file report deployed on that server. Now, I want to make some development to this server. So I can add a remote server and input the information, the port, the host name, and the username, the password. And then to change, click OK to change to that remote server. So if you change to your remote server, all the files here, all the files, folders here, will no longer be the files of your local. Here, you will see all the files of your server, remote server environment. So at that time, when you are adding, when you are editing, all the work will be saved into your remote server. So of course, at that time, if you are going to add perhaps a pop-up box to select a sub-report, you are only allowed to select a position, a location of your server environment, right? Server environment. So at that time, it will cause no problem because you're all using the server environment for development. Okay. So that's the workflow, how we usually do. If in the later development, how we usually do, because maybe we have so many people using FineReport to develop on the same server environment. So at that time, you need to switch your working directory to your remote server to develop on your remote server. So now let's go back to our FVS dashboard. Here, click this button, go back. Also, I'm not sure if I am illustrating this remote design very clearly. If not, you can view this help document first. But of course, if you have problem of this later, also have problems, you can ask me again. Also, you can also later, if you have problems about this after the training, you can also ask me in the group, okay? So this is the remote design. This function is this one, file, switch working directory to your, perhaps this one, these are all the remote server that I have already set in my local. Okay, so this is the remote server. Remote design. Okay. So now I'm going back to my dashboard. And while I'm going to jump to my pop-up box, also I'm going to pass my parameter. You can see here, when I select my template, it already give me the relative path, right? It's not the absolute path. You can see this is already the relative path because it doesn't have the web root, webinf, and report step file. It's just coming from the folder, Okay, so I can pass the parameter. Maybe I can pass the what is the parameter I set in the sales.cpd file? Is the test, right? So test, and what's value I want to pass it to. Because here, I'm just using the title. So I'm just taking the test here. So I'm going to pass it a custom content or custom formula. So it's okay, custom content. For example, Mike, one value, Mike. Okay, so that when you save and when you preview, let me preview again. You jump, and then you can see while you're getting this URL box, you have already passed the value of Mike here. Because you see, this drop-down checkbox already select Mike already. Why? Because the parameter has passed to it. So just click query and you get the Mike. So that is, we can also pass the parameter when we are using the click events, the URL pop-up box. So that is the pop-up box. And another function that we often use is the component linkage. So component linkage, let me give you an explanation first. What is component linkage? So yesterday, when we are finishing the training, we got this one. Let me see which is this. Maybe this one. We got this one, right? Yesterday. In the general report, we will want to achieve the chart linkage. Like if I click Adam, these are the product sales of Adam. These are the product sales of Mike. This is chart linkage. When you click, and the other chart will be changed correspondingly, right? For this one, how do we achieve this one yesterday? We use for the chart, go to the special effect interaction at hyperlink dynamic parameter. We use this one, dynamic parameter. So what is component linkage? You can consider it as this effect, dynamic parameter. It's very same. So dynamic parameter is just pass the parameter to somewhere, right? So similar for component linkage is the same effect. It's just pass your parameter to somewhere. So let's see how we use it. For example, now I want to achieve this effect. Let me find you. Now also, I want you guys to follow me along to achieve this effect. Where is the multi-multi effect? So here, I want to achieve, suppose this one. Let's do this one together. Linkage from chart. The effect I want to achieve that here, I want to click in the pie chart. In the pie chart is New York and California. I want to click in the pie chart and then my regional sales, this is the column chart. And then my table, this is the table. The data will be changed correspondingly. When I click New York in the pie chart, this will be product sales only containing the New York. And here, the table only containing the region New York. So that's the effect when I want. That is actually the linkage from this pie chart to the column and to the table, right? So how can I achieve the linkage like that? I'm actually achieving it by the component linkage. So firstly, I'm going to design the table and the chart itself. So I'm going to do it in the page 3. So in the pie chart, I'm going to select a pie. Select a pie. In the pie chart is the sales of each region, and it's fixed. I'm not going to change this chart. It's fixed, right? So I'm going to use a fixed data set, which is this one, DS1, without any parameter. You can see without any parameter. So I'm going to use the DS1, and series is the region. Value is the sales volume. So now I got sales volume of each region. And the next chart is the column chart. Column chart, by default, I want to display the sales volume, product sales of each region. So I want it to be dynamic. I don't want it to be fixed. Dynamic based on what condition? Based on the region, right? So here, I'm not going to use the DS1 because DS1, we have no parameter. I'm going to, let me see, what is DS2? Oh, DS2 is exactly what we want because DS2, we can make it dynamic based on the R, based on the region that is set here, right? Okay, so I'm going to use the DS2 and category is the region and the series is the product sales volume. So you can see also by default, because now I have already give it a default value, California. So by default, it only have California. And now next, let's move to the table. For the table, it's the same. Let me expand it a little bit. For the table, I wanted to display region, salesperson, sales volume. So design the table as we designed yesterday. Person and sales volume and sales. So just drag your field here. Also here, how can I change the table data? Because also I'm going to make it dynamic, right? So here I'm going to put the DS2 with the parameter because when my parameter change, my content will also be changed. Salesperson, sales volume. And when we go back, we can see by default, this region will only have California because the default value is California, this parameter. But you can see here, when we go back, This table, I cannot see all the data in this table. Why? Why? That is because you can see the adaptation of this table is not that right. Perhaps now you want the content inside this table to adapt to this size of this table automatically, so that you can set the adaptation of this table. How to set it? Select this table. Under this content, there will be adaptation. Now it's horizontally. So suppose I want to set it vertically or horizontally and vertically. Horizontally and vertically, that means you can see we have all the content here, right? Okay, suppose we use this one. And okay, so we design. Our report design is ready. We have these three components. A pie chart that will always be static. A column chart that will be linked. A table that will also be linked. So now I'm going to set my linkage from the pie chart. So the linkage is that I want is when I click. So interaction when I click. When I click, I will pass my parameter to the column chart and the table. So component linkage, you can set the scope. Whether you want to pass your parameter to all the pages, all the components in your current dashboard, or you only want to pass your parameter to some specified components in your current page. So now I can select a specify. I want to pass the parameter to this column and this table. So I need to select these two components. But what is the name? What is the name of this column and the table? How can I check that? There are several ways to check that. One is that just move your mouse over here. This is the name of this component. This is the name. Also, this is the name. Another way is that you can use the component layer here, component layer. And here you can get all the name of your current page. For example, page 2. This will be components in page 2 and page 3. So the component layer, usually we use that when we have so many components in our dashboard, because in real development there will be so many components, and we can use this component layer to identify what is the name of this component, and you can also do some operations to this component, rename or delete it or lock it, so you cannot move it. You can see you cannot move it, and unlock. Okay, this is component layer. I want to close it. So now I know that this is a column chart. This is the table, right? I know the name. So I'm going to, again, to the click event, component linkage to add object to the column and table. You can see these two. And what is the parameter you want to pass? R, right? Why is R? Because I want to pass to the DS2 where I define the R parameter. What is the value? The category. Actually, it's the series name, right? Because for this pie chart, the region name is actually the series name now. Click OK. OK. Save. This is the page 3. So now let's go to the dashboard. Go to the third page, page 3. So by default, it's California, California. If I click this New York, New York, New York, California, California, California. So that is how I achieve this effect through this component linkage. Okay. So now also, I'll give you 5 to 10 minutes to finish this one. And okay, and if you have, in the meanwhile, if you have questions, you can ask me, okay? Also, if you have finished, you can send your screenshot. You can send your screenshot of this one to the chat box to let me know you have followed along, okay? Okay. Okay, I see that some colleagues have finished this one. Okay. So that is the component linkage. So you can see this linkage is from the chart to another chart and the table. So at that time, we can use this component linkage. If you want to link from a chart to other components, you can use click event component linkage. But what if I want to link from a table to other charts or other tables? At that time, we recommend you to use the hyperlink, not this component linkage. Why? Because you can see, for example, this first one, linkage from the table. So in the first table here is also the total sales of each region. And in the column chart is the product sales of each region. And I want to linkage from my table. If I select New York, then it will display the column, the product sales under New York. If it's California, then it's the product sales of California in this column chart. So that's the linkage from the table. So this time, whether we can set it to the component linkage to achieve this effect, we can try a little bit. Here, I'm going to set it for in the page 4. So similarly, firstly, I want to design this dashboard first, right? Design it. So the first one is the table. In edit, the table is the region and the sales. And the region, the table is the fixed one, right? So I can use a static data set, which is DS1 without any parameter to create this table. Region, sales volume, maybe move it to center, and then go back, and then so you can see here, by default, let me change its adaptation method. You can see by default, its sales volume is not calculating the total sales, right? Now I want to get the effect like this. This is the total sales of New York. So there are 2 ways. One way is that you can change your SQL sentence, like here, to select some sales volume, right? To just get the value with your SQL sentence. That is one method to just modify the data source. Another method is to change the B2 data setting. By default, you can see if you click the B2, if you check the cell element, and there is a data setting, it's group. By default, it is group. You can change it to summary to get a summation summary. And then when you go back, you can see you get a total summation of New York, a total summation of California. So that's another way I can do it. I can change the data setting. Earlier, because it is group, so it's not getting me the total sales, it's not getting me the summary results. So I change it to summary. And the summary method I choose is to get the summation. If you want to change to other, you can also change. Okay. So this is how we can make this table. This is the first table, and then also another chart. So this chart, I have already made it, right? In my previous example. So I want to just copy paste it. So go to the page 3, just copy and then paste. Okay, copy paste it here. So now this is the effect, just the design report part. And now I want to add linkage from the table to this chart. Of course, you can find table. There is also the interaction, and here you can see for this table, that is different, right? Because here you cannot see the click event, right? So actually for different component type, when you click the interactive event, you will see different event here. It might be the click event or after initialization event, or if it's the if it's the, for example, widget, if it's the widget, for example, if you click interaction, it will be after initialization and edit an event. So totally, there will be these three kind of events: click events, after initialization event, and edit an event. So for these three events, click event might be the one that we commonly use, right? So today I'm introducing this click event. But how can I achieve the similar effect like the click event? Because I cannot find this click for this table. So this time for this table, I want to linkage from the table. When I click New York, when I click California, it will give me the California, the New York product sales. So at this time, I need to go inside this table, to achieve the similar effect using the hyperlink. So still here, we're using the hyperlink. So I want to click the text, New York or California, and then to pass my parameter. So I click the A, select the A2 cell, go to the hyperlink and add one. So here you can choose which type. Here I want to pass my parameter, right? So here I choose dynamic parameter. Which parameter you want to pass? Which parameter? Let me check what is there in the DS2. The name is R, right? So I pass the R. Which is the value? Which is the value? I want to pass the value of the current A2 cell value, right? So how to represent this A2 cell? There are two ways. One way is that you can use formula, change this to formula. You can just type A2 to get the value of the specified cell. And another way here is that we can use $3. So what is $3? If you use $3 in the formula, what does it represent? So because now we set this hyperlink for the A2 cell, $3 always represents the current value of your selected cell. So here we select the A2 cell, right? So here the $3 is the same meaning with the A2 because the current value is the A2 current value, right? So that's the same. So we can also use the $3 to get the current value of this selected, this A2 cell. Okay, so now we use this current cell, current value $3. Okay, and you can see also because we add a hyperlink, it will give us this format blue font color and the underline. You can also cancel it. Can move it to white. Okay. And then go back and save preview. Let's see the effect. That's page 4, right? I'm going to page 4. And now I'm going to click. You can see there will be a hand. New York, New York, California, California. So that's a linkage from the table. Why I am mentioning this is just because when you want to linkage from a chart or from a table, the ways we do it are different. From a chart, we can do it with this click events component linkage. But from a table, because there will be no click event here, you can also go inside, only go inside the table and choose this hyperlink. Okay, so that's two different scenarios for tables and for charts. Okay, also here you can have 5 minutes to finish this one. For this chart, you can just copy paste this one. Previously you have made this chart. You can just copy paste and you can create this table to get the total sales of the specified of the corresponding region. And then go inside to add a hyperlink for a cell and go back to my dashboard and preview to see the effect. Okay, I'll give you some time to finish this, okay? And also, if you are finished, please send me the screenshot in the chat box so I can know that you have finished. Yeah, we need to use the dynamic parameter here. This one, dynamic parameter. Okay. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. So actually here, I don't know whether you guys have noticed one question here is that you see when we preview the event, for example, I refresh it again. Because here in the column chart, I set a default value for what? For this R parameter California. So by default, this column chart will display only California, right? But actually, my desired effect is that by default, it will display product sales under each region, which is California and New York. And then when I click, it will only display New York or California. So how can I make it that by default, it is displaying all the data? You know, here is region equals to, right? Equals to. So by default, maybe I will leave the parameter as blank. But if I leave it as blank, you can see, if I leave it as blank, I will get no data. So my column chart will have no data. How can I have a control that if my parameter has no value, then I will select all from my table. That is, the column chart will have two regions. How can I give it a control like that? So at that time, actually we have a grammar in the SQL sentence where we write the parameter. We can have a control on that. So let me show you what kind of filters, what kind of sentences that we should use. Here, let me find you here. That is when my parameter has no value, I want to filter all. So at that time, I should use a sentence like this. Let me illustrate it to you. What's the meaning of this sentence? Let me modify it first. So here, this is the R, this is the R, this is the region. So what is the meaning? Let me explain it first. I will delete this where, just put this where. So the meaning of this if sentence is that you can see that is the dollar sign, also a curly bracket, but inside this curly bracket, I don't directly input the R parameter. I put an if sentence. The if sentence helps me to judge whether the parameter has no value or not. If the length is the length of the parameter. If the length of the parameter is 0, that means the parameter has no value. Then nothing. You can see there is nothing, right? Nothing. If there is a value in the parameter has a value, then I will add and region equals to our parameter. So why I do it like this? Because I also get a where 1 to 1. Where 1 to 1, you know, that is a sentence that will always come true, right? So let me take a test. View my executed SQL. If I have no value in my parameter, click OK, and then according to this if sentence, I will get where 1 to 1 and then nothing, right? Okay, so my SQL sentence will be like this. Select from where 1 to 1, and behind this where 1 to 1, since there is this if judgment, so there will be nothing behind this where 1 to 1. So this is to filter all the data, right? All the data from your table. And if I have a parameter value here, for example, the New York, then behind this where 1 to 1, I will add where 1 to 1 and region equals to what? Equals to the R value, right? So click OK. So this is the SQL sentence that it will execute, where 1 to 1 and region equals to. So this is the if sentence, where 1 to 1 combining with this if sentence to add in the SQL sentence to have a control that if our parameter has no value, then I will filter all the data from the table. So actually, this is a very fixed grammar. You can remember this grammar, and later in your dashboard development, you can modify this sentence a little bit. This is the parameter name, R. This is the parameter name, and this is the field name. This is the field name. I can send it to you. Later, you can only modify it a little bit. If you have changed your parameter name, if you have different field name, you can change it here a little bit to achieve the same effect. So you can see I have modified my DS2 as here, and my default value, this is my default value, I just leave it as blank. Click OK. And when I save and preview, you can see by default, I filter all the data, so I get New York and California, because I have the if to help me to judge. If it's no value in the parameter, then I will get all the data. And if it has value, I will get the data according to the corresponding area, region. So that is the control we got. Also, you can have a try to modify your SQL sentence here to have a try. So that is the linkage from the table. And the usage, the hyperlink is the same as the general report. So that is component linkage and hyperlink. So actually that are all the commonly used hyperlinks or click events here, click events that we will use. And you might also notice there are some 3D related, right? 3D related effects. A reset button. Okay, reset, you can maybe here. A reset button, you can use a title here. You can use a title. You can imagine a reset is like you click something and then you reset the parameter value to nothing, right? So you can achieve that using this title click event. For example, this one, I change it to reset. And then you want it to be more like a button, right? So maybe you can change the background, the color, the background. You can change the background, the style of this title a little bit to make it more like a button. And then give it an interaction click event. Click event is that when click, component linkage, right? Component linkage. To pass the R parameter, give the parameter no value. Just leave it as blank, low value. Okay. So now we can check a little bit. Okay, by default, all value and New York, and then reset. Okay, you can see after I reset, because when I reset, I use the component linkage to change here, to change the R parameter, no value, so that my column chart will be changed again to display all the data. So that's how we usually set the reset. We usually use the title to let it have the function like at the bottom to add a click event for it. Okay. So that's the component linkage. You can see the component linkage, we use it very often. Whenever you want to pass the value of the parameter, you can use the component linkage. And the parameter always control the content of your charts, of your tables. Okay, so actually that's all the knowledge, all the information that you should know about these 2D components, this chart, this widget, and this other title, video, etc. And actually for the chart, this is just the pie chart, the column chart. For the dashboard, we have some built-in carousel effect that you can use. That is called the carousel chart. For example, let me check. For example, for the bar, you can see for the bar, you will have this type, carousel by bar chart. Let's see the effect, carousel. So it's like, you can see, it's like it will scrolling itself by default. You can see this effect. This is from bottom to up, that scrolling effect, the carousel effect. And other charts might also have the similar effect. For example, let me see the line. That is the pie. The pie also have this one. You can see this is the pie chart. Now it's in this series. And after a fixed time, it will go to this series, right? It's the carousel effect. So if sometimes you want more dynamic, special, a more cool effect when you are displaying the chart, you might consider to use the carousel one, carousel pie chart, carousel bar chart. And also we have some globe effect here. You can see here. What is the globe? Globe is like this one. So this is the globe. You can see it's like a globe here, and here I choose the column globe. So it's a globe, and then use the column here. This is the column above this globe to show your data. Also, you can choose the point. The point that is also a globe, but there will be the points displaying your data, and the line. This is the flow. That there will be the line to indicate the flow direction of your data. So you can see there are many types of charts. You can explore a little bit because sometimes you want to make a more cooler effects of your charts. So at that time, you can choose to select some carousel effect or some global effect. For this type of charts, it will have a built-in dynamic effect by itself. So for the dashboard, it will look more fancy. So these are the charts. So actually, that's all the information about the 2D components. So let me summarize a little bit for this FVS dashboard, the 2D chart widget and other, the 2D components part. So for the FVS dashboard, there are several features that the general report doesn't have. One is the 3D. For the 3D, we don't tell you more details in this session. And another feature is the multi-page. Here, multi-page. You can create multi-pages. That are the two most important features. And for today's session, we covered some knowledge about. The first one is that how to switch pages. We can switch through the built-in button here, the built-in button. If you don't want to change pages like that, you can also use our click event and page jump. So that is the second point we covered today, which is the interaction click event. And in the click event, you can see there are many types: component linkage, pop-up box, page jump. We introduced these three. In these three executions, these three kind of click events, you can always pass your parameter while if you want. And that one will allow us to have some chart linkage effect or jump page with the parameter value effect, that kind of effect. So that is the click event. That is for the chart component. And for the table, it's kind of different because we don't have the click event. We only have the initialization. So if you want to achieve the similar effect, like if you click, you want to jump. If you click, you want to pass your parameter. You need to go inside the table, and similar with our general report, use the hyperlink. If you want to jump, use this web report. If you want to just pass the value of your parameter, use this dynamic parameter. So that is the summary of today's session about this FVS dashboard. So now I wonder if you guys have any questions regarding today's session regarding the FVS dashboard.
Can we see a quick demo of how to settle some geographic values if we are going to use the map graphic?
Oh, the map. Okay, of course. Here I'm going to set in page 5. For the map, for example, the globe, if you're using the globe, that is the same. So let's talk about the map, baby. Let me see. You can see the map, we have area, point, right, and flow. These are the three basic types. The area just mark the area with a color. And the point is to have a point marker in your area. That is the difference. So how to configure the map? For example, the area map, just drag the map. And also on the right, there will be content, data, style, special effect, right? The same. So here, for the map, we need to configure data for it. For example, the data. I'm going to use the dataset data. And what data I'm going to use? You see, for the map here, for the area, I will need to configure the area name. So I must have a dataset containing the area name. For example, here, I have already prepared the data first. I will use the data firstly, and then I will explain to you why I use this data. I'm going to copy the data back to my dashboard. Template 1. Okay, you can see here I'm using this type. I'm using the built-in dataset. Let me see the data first. So you can see the data. We have a country field. The country field are the countries of Southeast and some values, sales volume, profit, etc. So here I'm going to use this data, this country area. The area name, I will select the country. And this is the area. What is the series? The series, maybe I want to display the profit of each area. So profit. So here you can see here, you can see this is the Southeast Asia area, right? So some areas already has some colors. Why? Because now these areas are matched to the system settings. How can I make sure the area name is matched, or how can I check is that matched or not? So here, that is the configuration of the area name. Now I choose the area name to the country field as my area name. So I can click this setting box to see if it is matched or not. So this area name, the values of this area name are all coming from the field that you are configuring here. And what is this match to? This match to is actually the system settings of the map configuration settings, the system settings. These are all the values of the system settings. Where can I find that? I can log into my platform. This is my local. So I'm going to log in. Where is my map configuration? You can check that under the system management, and there will be a map configuration. And you can see, if you open your platform, yours might be different from mine because several information I have added it manually by myself. By default, you will only have this word you will have, and under this word by default, you will have this China and Southeast Asia. Other areas I have added it manually by myself. So what's this coming from? This match to this list. These values are coming from, for example, word is actually coming from the word values. Why is coming from the world, not the Southeast Asia? Why? Because in the type, we have a map boundary, you see. The map boundary, by default, we are choosing this word. This word, you can see the map boundary list. Let me scroll. This operation, this list options we see here is completely the same as we see here in our map configuration. And now we select this world, right? The world is this one, this world. So that when you choose world as your map boundary, and when you match your data, your match list here, your match list will be values coming from your selected map boundary. I select world. So that value will coming from here in the name. The name will have all the countries that is configured in your world file. So that is these values, where these values coming from. So since here you can see area name coming from my field and match to list coming from my map configuration. Only if these values are matched, that is correct. They are matched and you can have your data on your map. If it's not matched, then you will have no data in that specific area. For example, Thailand. If this Thailand is not matched, let me change it to none. That is okay. That is not matched. Okay, now we don't have a scenario when it's not matched. Actually, when it's not matched, I will have a hint here, a red one, indicating that this is not matched. So at that time, if it's not matched, area name and match to doesn't match, you will have no data on your map. On your map, in the corresponding area, you will have no color now because we are the area map. So if you are creating the area map, you need to make sure that your area name match to the map configurations. And our mapping logic here is by the same name. So you can see the name is the same. So it will match corresponding automatically. If it doesn't match and you want it matched to another country, you can also manually select it here. For example, match it to here, etc. You can manually select. Okay, so that is the logic of how we match. And we can preview a little bit. What's the effect of this one? This template one. And I want to refresh it. Go to the page. What is this? Wait, page 5. Preview it. You can see here. Here, I have already hide here. I can hide this, right? So I already hide this. So you can see here in my building button, I don't see page 5. I want to show it. Show it. Page 5. So here, because our map boundary is the world, right? So in the background, is the world background. And here, our matching area is just the South Asia. And when it's matching, it will have its values, like here, the profit, right? The profit of each country of Southeast Asia. So sometimes you might think the background is so big. I only want to display the Southeast Asia as my map boundary. So it will not have this extra information as other countries or cities. So at that time, you can change your map boundary. Here, I'm going to change it to only the Southeast Asia. So you can see this is the Southeast Asia. It will focus on only the Southeast Asia. And also go to the data part, configure your area name, and go to the matching. Oh, you can see there is the scenario when it is not matched. Because now the match to list, this values list will coming from the map boundary you just choose. The map boundary, I just choose the Southeast Asia. So the values will be coming from here. And obviously, there is no name as this name, right, in the match to list. So the system cannot match it automatically for you. So it will have a hint, select a matched item. So now it's not matched. So here in this area, you will have no value here. Save, preview. So you can see here, this is actually the area, right? Burma. This is actually the area, but it is not matched, right? So you can see, actually we have no data here. We cannot see the data here, but in other areas, we will get a prompt. In this area, it's not matched, so we don't get the hint. But if we manually match, it's Burma actually. I can match it to Burma. Okay, and save. And now it's matched. So now it's matched. I can have my data display here. So this is the matching logic of the area map. So you might wonder, what if I want to add another map configuration here? Because the match list is important. I want to match my areas. So like here, I have manually add other geographic informations to my map configuration already. If you want to add, you can also add, but you must obey some rules. You must obey some rules. So what is this files actually? What is this file? This world, this Southeast Asia, these are actually the JSON file. We can check a little bit. Our JSON file is stored here. We have a location to store it on the webinf, assets, and map, geographic. You can see these are all the JSON files. World, this is the world area JSON, world 3D JSON, world point JSON. And inside the world, there is the Southeast Asia, right? And for the Southeast Asia area JSON, we can take a look at it. You can see there is a JSON. There are some features. So if you want to add an extra area by yourself to insert it into map configuration, you can create a JSON file and put it here. Just put it here in the corresponding geographic folder, and then to sync geographic file. So this button is just to reading the information from your geographic folder again and to list it here. So that is how you can add your own JSON file here. This is the area map. And the map, the point is very similar here. This is the point. Also, the most important thing is we need to configure data, right? And before that, you also need to choose a map point. The map point is like the map boundary. By default, also it will be the world. You can also change it to other, like Southeast Asia, right? And the data you need to configure. So different with the area map, we have an extra option here. Of course, in the map, we can also map by the area name and choose the area name like we set in our area map. You can see this is not matched and you can manually match it. Now I'm not going to match it. Just select your profit so that here you will get some points, right? Some points if it's matched, if you will get some points indicating the data. This is matched by the area name. But here you might notice for the points, we can have another option called latitude and longitude. So we can match by our geographic longitude and latitude. So I can change to longitude and latitude. So to do this, you need to have a data containing the latitude and latitude, and you can select the corresponding field to let it match. So that's the difference between area and point. For area map, you can only match by area name. And for points, you can match whether by the area name or by latitude and longitude. Okay. Okay, so that is the knowledge you should know about the map. For other kind of formats of map, the configuration always is the same. Just the two methods. Just two methods, match by name, match by area name, or latitude or longitude. That are two options. For the globe, for the maybe some other maps, this one, scene map, carousel map, they are all matching by the same way, whether by area or by latitude or longitude. Okay, so for the map, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I think that's all for the FVS dashboard. Also, all for the FineReport part. FineReport part, the general report and the dashboard. Okay, so for the FineReport part, I wondered you guys have any questions for the total FineReport?
No, I believe for a moment we don't have any other question.
Okay. Okay, so now